Assalamu alaikum, welcome to Times of Ummah. Today's first news update is coming from Palestine, where dozens of airstrikes funded Gaza, which left 100 wounded and killed in Palestine. According to latest data, at least 213 Palestinians, including 61 children, have been killed in Gaza since the attacks began. About 1,500 Palestinians have been wounded. 12 people in Israel have died, including 2 children, while at least 300 have been wounded. The United States President Joe Biden talked with Netanyahu for the third time since violence erupted and expressed support for a ceasefire. The European Union Foreign Policy Chief Joseph Borrell called for an implementation of a ceasefire following a video conference of European Union foreign ministers, adding that the call was backed by all the bloc's members states except Hungary. According to the Health Ministry of Palestine, 70 people have been hospitalized in the occupied West Bank due to confrontations with Israeli forces, 5 of them in serious condition. But the Israeli army has said the Israeli troops have been targeted by gunfire in the occupied West Bank. As the Palestinian Health Ministry said, a man was killed in a separate shooting. It added during a violent riot near Ramallah, a number of rioters fired extensively at Israeli soldiers who responded with fire. 2 soldiers were injured in their legs and were evacuated to a hospital for further medical treatment. A reporter from West Bank said Palestinians were seen throwing rocks at the Israeli army near the Israeli military checkpoint. An hour or 2 after that, they heard gunshots coming from the Palestinian side, and we believe they are from Palestinian militants, and then the Israeli military responded with live ammunitions. Confrontations continued after that escalation, and we have been hearing more and more rounds. Sometimes they are rubber-coated steel bullets, sometimes it's live ammunition by the Israeli army towards the protesters. He said it is definitely not a usual scene since there are not many arms here in occupied West Bank. If there are, the Israeli army comes in and arrests those Palestinians. And the United States Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin has expressed his support for a de-escalation in a call with the Israeli counterpart. Lloyd Austin reiterated the United States' unwavering support for Israel's right to defend itself and to protect Israeli civilians, and lamented the loss of innocent Israeli and Palestinian lives. Austin expressed his support for de-escalation of the conflict and restoration of calm. Dear viewers, Gaza has become the battlefield now, and Israel has intended to clear Gaza from Hamas, which will throw the Gaza in a deadly attacks, clashes and fires. On the other hand, Hamas has started its jihad against Israel, and if Hamas finds a little support from any Muslim country, it can do anything with Israel, because Hamas has now decided and has prepared for anything. And one thing here is clear: as long as the United States will support Israel, Israel will not stop its violence. Today's second news update is coming from Myanmar, where the United States, United Kingdoms, and Canada have imposed coordinated sanctions on Myanmar's military rulers and related entities, the latest in a string of punitive measures since the army seized power in a February coup. Dear viewers, Myanmar military take over the civilian government on 1st February. We starting updated you, and you may know the violent protests were erupted across the country, for which Myanmar's military did everything to stop the protesters, but hundreds were killed. Dear viewers, the United States said on Monday that it was targeting the governing state administrative council and 13 officials, freezing any of their United States assets and banning Americans from dealing with them. And Canada has said it imposed additional sanctions on individuals and entities tied to Myanmar's armed forces, while the United Kingdom's announced sanctions against state-owned enterprises, Myanmar Gems Enterprise, which was included in previous United States sanctions. Dear viewers, the United States Secretary of State said, "Our actions today underscores our resolve and that of our partners to apply political and financial pressure on the regime as long as it fails to stop violence and take meaningful actions to respect the will of the people." On the other hand, Canadian Foreign Minister has said Canada stands with the people of Myanmar as they continue to fight to restore democracy and freedom in their country, and we will not hesitate to take further actions. Until now, the nationwide protests are still continued since military seized power in February. According to the latest data, 796 people have been killed by security forces and more than 4,000 have been detained. All the foreign powers have several times urged Myanmar military to free civilian leader Aung San Suu Kyi and restore democracy in the country. But the unrest has continued, however, with bombing reported daily. Local militia formed to confront the army, and protests and strikes by opponents of the coup taking place across the Southeast Asian country. Only on Sunday, at least 6 opposition rebels have been killed by military after deadly confrontations. And the town of Mindat has emerged as a hot spot for unrest, where some residents residents have formed the Chin Land Defense Force. The CDF has said 6 members of our CDF who tried to protect the security of the people and mandate attacked the military and sacrificed their lives for the national revolution. Today's third news update is coming from United States, where the United States Secretary of State Antony Blinken says he has not seen any Israeli evidence of the Hamas operating in the Gaza building that house residences, offices, and media organizations, including Al Jazeera and the Associated Press, the Israeli destroyed on Saturday. Dear viewers, we were updated you that Al Jazeera building inside Gaza was destroyed by Israeli air raids, which has crossed all the limits because it shows the world the stance of the United States and the big world powers about the freedom of speech. Blinken said on Monday he has asked Israel for justification of the strike. The Israeli military, which gave journalists and other building occupants about an hour to evacuate, claims that Hamas used the building for a military intelligence office. Blinken said shortly after the strike, we did request additional details regarding the justification of it. He declined to discuss specific intelligence, saying he will leave it to others to characterize if any information has been shared in our assessment that information. But he said, I have not seen any information provided. But Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu said Israel would share any evidence of Hamas presence in the targeted building through intelligence channel. But neither the White House nor the State Department would say if any American official had seen it. Dear viewers, United States here apparently supporting Israel despite its war crime against the Palestinians. And the United States here shown double standard toward human rights and freedom of speech. We saw huge escalation in Israeli air raids and the flattened building, but still United States saying Israel has the right to defend its country. Dear viewers, Amnesty International and media watchdog Reporter Without Border asked the international community, asked the International Criminal Court to investigate Israel's bombing of the building housing the media organization as a possible war crime. In addition, the AFP's top editor called for an independent United States investigation into the attack. Saleh Hijazi, Deputy Regional Director for the Middle East and North Africa at Amnesty International, told Al Jazeera Israel was trying to hide what it was doing in Gaza and to the people of Gaza, adding that Amnesty has been prevented from entering the enclave. He added, we now have International Criminal Court investigation open on the situation in the Palestinian territories since 2014. We call on the ICC to look into incident. And this is 100% clear that Israel targeted media's building. It aimed to stop spreading facts inside the Muslim world. We can't expect from United States that will help the innocent Palestinians, but the whole Muslim Ummah will have to come together and solve the issue. Dear viewers, if you want to watch top 3 news of the day, please subscribe Times of Ummah.